I found like growing up, I always knew that I wanted to teach dance, but I didn't really know what that looked like. I remember I texted Dad and I was like, this studio's closing down. Why don't I email and see if I can take over the space? I remember that was like the scariest moment of my life, sending off that email, because obviously my whole life was about to change.
Yes.
I didn't really know what I was doing, to be honest.
I love that.
I was like, oh, well, let's just give it a go, see what happens.
love that.
And Dad and I were talking, we were like, well, if it really fails, then I can always just get a full-time job again. I think that the dance industry is definitely moving away from the traditional style of teaching. So where we are with being that fun studio that still gets the results is definitely the way that the industry is going. I'm also currently studying personal training as well.
Really?
So I would like to implement that into the studio and be able to run like boot camps and gym programs for the parents as well. I want every child to be able to come to dance and love exactly what they're doing. So having that home for them is what I want to be able to give.
I wish I had a better term for you, but hustler comes to mind. I wish I kind of feel like you need to be this, you've got this hybrid hustler, you know, sort of smart wits about you. I'm finding that you're not a time waster.
I don't have time to waste. So
Right.
if you saw my calendar on my iPad, you would be shocked.
Really? I'm not surprised.
Everything is time blocked.
From a dance perspective, what makes Revolve Dance Studios stand out above the others?
I would say that we're quite a young team, so all of the girls are around my age, and we really create those friendships with our students and make sure that they do feel comfortable when they come in the studio.
Hey legends, welcome to Thirstee Coconut, the show where we deep dive into journeys of movers, makers, and modern day dreamers. If you're chasing your passions, figuring out life after high school, or just looking for a spark to fuel your own fire, well, you're in the right place. Today, we've got an absolute powerhouse joining us, Maddie, the inspiring founder of Revolve Dance Studios, based in Helen, Victoria, here in Melbourne, Australia. She's in her 20s, running a thriving dance community, and she is living proof that you don't have to wait to chase your dreams. Whether you're into dance, entrepreneurship, or just looking for that next step and inspiration, this is the one for you. Maddie, welcome to Thirstee Coconut. Great to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Fantastic. Love it. So Maddie, I obviously contacted you and I wanted to sit you down because I think you are such an inspiring person to want to sort of talk to. You are only in your early 20s. I've just recently learned. I want to get to understand kind of your journey between, you know, the tail end of high school and how you got to becoming an entrepreneur, running your own dance studio here in Australia. And my first question for you is, did you already know what you wanted to do? Or was it more of a twisty plan? So if you think about kind of your late years, maybe year 10 or year 11 or 12, did you have a sense of what you wanted to do in your future life? Was that something already on the plans, or were you just muddling your way through high school like many of us do?
I found like growing up, I always knew that I wanted to teach dance, but I didn't really know what that looked like.
Right.
So in year 10 and year 11, I studied VCE dance because I knew that dance was obviously my passion. I've danced since I was 3 years old.
Yes.
And I just knew that I knew that dance wanted to be, I wanted dance to be the rest of my life.
Yes.
So studying VCE dance was a really good option. And then through the rest of school, I did all of the folio creative subjects.
Yes.
Lots of work, but it was lots of fun. So I really loved being able to be creative in all of my subjects.
Right.
That's sort of my schooling.
Yes.
And then after school, I studied dance full time for 2 years.
So in high school then, when you picked study a dance as your VCE subject, which actually I didn't know you could do, but I guess you can probably do anything in VCE. I did explain in prior shows that VCE stands for Victorian Certificate of Education here in Australia for those that are watching abroad. When you were studying those subjects, were you already kind of dancing around the house? Like what actually sparked your passion for even just dancing in the first place? Was it friends or somebody led you to that, or?
I started dancing when I was 3 years old.
Wow.
So mum and dad always said that I was dancing around the house and just they wanted to be able to fuel that passion. So dancing since I was very little and then just continued through. I started dancing with 2 different schools in year 9, and then at the second dance school I was able to pick up VCE dance.
Right.
And just, continue that
That's
passion.
so good. And it helps when you've got parents that actually watch what you do in your spare time and obviously have a bit of fun with that. And if I think about kind of, you know, when you'd finished high school and you graduated, when you sort of started study, did you go to university to do that, or how does it work in the dance world for studying?
So I studied dance full-time at Transit Dance in Brunswick. So it's like a independent TAFE sort of
Gotcha.
situation. So you dance 38 hours a week. In my case, it was all online because it was during COVID.
Yes.
But ideally, you would get multiple performances throughout the year and get that one-on-one training with your coach, like all of the teachers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And COVID was such a difficult time, wasn't it? Because, you know, those who were graduating high school in 2018, 2019, are having to go into university. And a lot of many people, particularly those who are going to TAFE, going into a trade or, you know, kind of what you're doing in dance, would have found it quite difficult to kind of demonstrate your understanding of what you do because a lot of it's on hands-on. Was that the situation for you during COVID as well? How was that?
It was really hard because we had our first term on campus, which was really amazing. So we were getting that full-on training that we had signed up for. And then after that, we went into lockdown. So we were on Zoom in our little squares on the computer trying to dance full-time. And it was just so hard.
In your room? Did you also have to dance in your room? I mean, I haven't the faintest idea how one would demonstrate how well you dance.
At the start, it was in the lounge room, and then Mum and Dad converted our garage into a dance studio. So I was very lucky to be able to have the space to dance. But you still just don't get that connection with all of your friends and teachers.
Yeah. And what was that like for you, just not having that, being able to have that connection and seeing your peers in person? Was it?
I found it quite challenging.
Yeah.
Just having that connection was like, it's how you learn, like having the teachers by your side and making those little corrections and being able to adjust your body wherever needed is so important. You just don't get the same quality of training online versus in person, of course.
I mean, what inspirations did you draw from? Because you would have had to at least find some sort of resource that helped you learn to, you know, sort of contort yourself into the dance moves that you had to learn. What were some of the, you know, sort of motivating resources or inspiration did you have to draw from?
I just knew that dance, like I obviously want to dance to be the rest of my life. So just always looking back to that and going, well, how am I going to better myself to always ensure that I'm still progressing even though it's not the best circumstances. And our teachers were really good in keeping us inspired and having different guests and everything throughout our training to keep us always energized and ready. Yeah,
because I imagine learning the techniques, I mean, if you were doing it from a young age, it might not have been terribly difficult. But for those that are just starting out, do you think that would have been difficult for them to learn the techniques of dancing, or was it more theoretical than anything?
We had both. So while we were on Zoom in the second year, we did most of our theory while we were still on Zoom.
Yes.
And then we did a lot of our practical, like the practical element while we were back at the studio. So we would have like 2 days on Zoom, 3 days at the studio. So we would do all of our theory online and then like the majority of our practical things.
So during COVID, you were allowed to, I suppose we hadn't really been locked down in Victoria so much that you couldn't go to the studio to practice in person?
In the first lockdown, we couldn't go at all.
Yeah.
But then once we were in second year, I think there was something that the government said that you could go in if you were in your
like an
graduating year.
Yeah, I see. And when you were, I know you it sounded like you obviously had the full support of your parents. I mean, you know, building a dance studio for you or converting the garage into a dance studio is a pretty amazing thing for your folks to do for you. Despite that, were there any doubts or pressures from other people around you when you chose this path? And if so, how did you navigate it? Or there were no doubts, you just knew plan A was going to be plan A and there was no plan B, because if it was, you weren't going to do plan A?
In year 12, I knew that I did want to study full time.
Yeah.
So I auditioned for Transit. I think it was in March or April of year 12, and I just knew that that's what I wanted to do.
Right.
I got accepted into that in like June or July. So that's midway through year 12. I already knew exactly what I wanted to do and I'd already been accepted. So I sort of took the rest of year 12 to really enjoy it and
Yes.
make the most of the time that I had with all of my friends there. And yeah.
I love it. So there's no turning back, right? Once you've made that decision, there's no turning back. You're all in.
Exactly.
Would you say that's where the path you took?
Yes.
Now, imagine scholastically or I guess from a academic perspective. I mean, you come across to me as a fairly astute person, young person. Had you done well in other topics or any other subjects in high school that you might have not been, sort of you thought, oh, well, I'm doing really well in these other subjects, but you know what? I'm still going to go to dance. Did that cross your mind at any point?
All of the subjects that I did at year 12 were like very creative. So I did studio arts, I did theatre studies, I did like English language. So all of the creative options I did throughout school. So I knew that I always wanted to do something in the creative realm. I did also want to study to be a physiotherapist, which I obviously didn't go.
Right. What happened there?
The ATAR is so high and I just knew that I would have to take a different avenue.
Yes.
Because I didn't want to do all of the hard subjects.
Oh, that makes sense.
So, yeah, it was, I think, the right move for me to stay with all the creative subjects.
I feel like that kind of makes sense because, many people tend to say, and there's no right or wrong answer, I suppose, but many people tend to say, those who are successful in life tend to say you do what you're passionate about, which to a sense it's right. But what if you're not passionate about anything? Then what I learned was you actually do what you're good at, right?
Exactly.
So you might have been passionate at physiotherapy, but actually you're really good at dancing. And so I think that was a very clever move that, you sort of pivoted, pardon the pun, but you pivoted to dancing rather than physiotherapy.
Yeah, exactly.
And here you are today. So what was your life like at TAFE? Like, was that everything you expected it to be? I know you had a period of COVID. Once we came out of COVID, was it better to get on campus or to be on site to sort of start, practicing your technique and all the theory work behind it?
It was definitely so much better being on campus because you get to see all of your friends and see the teachers in person, have one-on-one meetings with them at lunchtime if that's what you want to do.
Right.
So just having that element of connection was really like the most important part. And
yes. Yeah. And I think about, sort of you moving out to TAFE post-COVID. Had you sort of gained independence from a transportation perspective during or before COVID in terms of, sort of your own getting yourself there, driving and getting your license and all that sort of stuff? Had you done that prior?
No. So turning 18 at the end of year 12, I jumped straight into driving myself to dance every single day, having to make sure that I was up at 5:45 to leave at 6:15 every single day and managing, okay, if it's going to take me an hour and a half to get to dance, then I need half an hour to warm up. Just making sure that I had that time management skill.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You sound pretty organized to me, actually. That's, I don't know. Where did you get that from? Was that from Dad or was that from, who takes the credit for that?
Probably Mum and Dad.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And if you think back to your high school days, for those who say are maybe not so clear about what they want to do post high school, because I think you're one of very few people that, sort of tend to figure out pretty early on what you want to do. What would you say to those, those individuals in high school still these days? What would you say for them to do if, for example, they might not be clear about what they'd like to do? I know you said you wanted to do physio, but couldn't do it. What's the thinking behind sort of making that choice while you're in high school, especially, year 10 and year 11?
If I was speaking to someone in year 10 or year 11, I would definitely say keep your options open, choose subjects that you're interested in, and just make the most of the time while you're at school. You get to spend every single day with all of your friends and making those beautiful friendships that then you can hopefully keep after school.
Yes.
So I think that enjoying your time while you're at school is so important. I don't think there's any point in stressing over doing the most academic subjects. I don't think there's any point in stressing to push yourself too far that you're not enjoying the process.
Yes.
So keep your options open and just make sure that you're enjoying your journey along the way and everything will work out.
Oh, those are such good tips, because sometimes it is about that, just kind of building your relationships and actually seeing how far you go with, kind of exploring who you are, and really just backing yourself. I guess it's more about just identifying and learning who you are, as opposed to necessarily going all in on academics. Would that be right to say?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree.
I love that. Okay, so going back then, if I could just take a step back to say the end of high school, I know you said you went to TAFE. You went to Transit Dance TAFE. Did you do anything in between? So were you, sort of having to work your way into a job, all those sorts of things? Like what else were you doing?
So after TAFE on like Thursday and Friday nights and on the weekends, I was working in retail.
Yep.
I would finish dance at like 4 o'clock in Brunswick, drive my way back out to Ringwood, start work and do a 6 till 9 shift in retail, and then repeat like Thursday, Friday, and then work. I would often teach dance on Saturday mornings and then go work back in retail on Saturday afternoon and then work in retail again on Sunday. So just having to work to be able to pay for petrol to be able to get to dance. And
Yeah. That sounds like a pretty busy life. How did you cope with it sounds more like, if you're doing 2 jobs at once but you're doing, sort of 3 jobs more or less, studying, working, all those sorts of things. What sorts of what sorts of mechanisms did you pick up on if you were faced into, say, struggles and you were, exhausted, all that sort of stuff? Was there a time where you found yourself really kind of thinking, oh my God, this is so much, I don't know how I'm going to cope with all of this, working, then having to, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I found having a really solid routine to be really important, having those time management skills to go, okay, I'm working from 6 till 9. That means I need to have a really good nighttime routine to make sure that I'm ready and energized for the next day.
Yes.
And then having the same routine every single week made it a lot easier. Like on a Saturday morning, Dad and I would go grocery shopping together at the exact same time every Saturday, and just making sure that routine was the same every single week, I think helped me settle into that routine and make sure I wasn't getting as fatigued, because I knew exactly what to expect every single week. And then on school holidays, just work as much as I could in retail, but then also take the time to rest and recover, or else I wouldn't be able to get through the term.
I love that. So you say consistency is the best, I guess, medicine for sustaining, sort of long hours and having to do, the work and all the stuff that you want to do on the side. Would that be right?
Yes, absolutely. Just having the consistency would allow me to know when it is time to rest and when it is time to go.
Yeah. Super discipline.
Yeah. I feel like you have to be disciplined to be able to get it all done.
Yeah.
Yes, there's no way. If I had no discipline, I wouldn't have worked on the nights, and then I'd go, oh, how am I going to pay for petrol this week?
Yeah, indeed.
So
indeed. And so going into your TAFE life, what was that like for you? Like, did you have, were you satisfied with the, I guess, the program, and was it everything you expected it to be? Like, what was that like? And then when I understand kind of the outcome of what ended up happening.
I think it definitely wasn't what I expected because of COVID. So being on Zoom, we missed out on a lot of opportunities. We were meant to perform once a term, have full-on production shows every single term. And I think we got 2 filmed shows and 1 live performance in the 2 years instead of 12 performances.
Wow.
So those performances are where future employers would find us and get to know who we are and set us up for a future in dance. But because we didn't have those performances, we really missed out on those opportunities.
Yeah. And how did that make you feel? Was it, I imagine that would have been kind of demotivating in some way, or were you just not aware that you needed to build up a fairly big portfolio while you were in TAFE?
I found it quite hard because we were always preparing for a show that we almost knew wasn't going to happen. So when we, first term of first year, we started working on a show, and then I think we ended up filming it halfway through second year.
Oh,
because we were like, let's just push it on, like push it to the next term, push it to the next term. And then we were still in lockdown, so we didn't get to perform it. And we did like a Zoom performance where we would all like get into
Super
our
awkward.
home costumes and
And
perform
hard.
it for the other classes, and it's just not the same.
Yeah. Like, what was that like? That would have been super hard because, like, usually you do these things together, right? But you had to do
Exactly.
this on your own.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have had time to put your makeup on and all your and
Yeah.
all your outfits, but that would have been the strangest feeling.
Yeah, so like in second year when we actually got to perform, we all got to sit on the studio, get our hair and makeup done, like we'll do our hair and makeup all
Yes.
together, and you get the buzz of the studio. You
Yep.
all get so excited together. But when we did it on Zoom, it was completely different. Just
Yeah.
sitting in your room by yourself, doing your hair and makeup, and then logging onto your computer and
Yes.
doing this pretend
Routine in
performance
front,
sort
yeah.
of thing for the rest of the cohort.
So where did it go in the end? I mean, you said it wasn't gonna. Did it show in the end, the performance, or
Eventually we got to film it.
okay?
And so we had a full production, which was amazing. They had all of the cameras and it was a really beautiful performance, but it wasn't live. So we didn't have
Yeah.
people in front of us that could employ us in the future.
Yes. Yeah. And with that, do you think? I mean, what would have been the things that you learned from that process? Never to do it again.
No, I think I would definitely go back and do it again
Yeah.
if it wasn't in COVID.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was so hard, but with the circumstance, I think they did a really good job.
Yes. Yes.
Doing
I think we
as
all
best
learned
as we
during,
could.
Yeah, I think we all learned a lot during COVID, what not to do and what to do better. And then going through TAFE. So how many years was it that you spent?
It was 2 years.
2 years of practical and theoretical work.
Yeah.
And then beyond that point, you know, sort of, did you know what you were going to do after that, or did it actually lead you to where you thought you were going to go?
I really didn't know what I was going to do after we graduated. So there was not really an industry to go into because we were still in COVID times. No one was really getting any jobs. If anyone was getting jobs, it's people that were already in the industry pre-COVID. So they would automatically be hired because no one needed to really audition them. They knew that they could
Yep.
work and they know that they can work well within the theatre. So
Right.
all of us fresh full-timers weren't really getting seen at all.
Yeah.
So
That's a bummer.
yeah.
What was
quite
that
hard.
like? Like, what did you do in the time? Like, I mean, you would have had to hustle. I mean,
Yeah, I was working in retail and then I picked up a full-time job in retail just to fill the time and work out what I wanted to do.
right. I see. And when you worked in retail, what sorts of things were you doing? You were just working an ordinary job that didn't really, it was just funding your lifestyle and.
Yeah, I was assistant manager in a retail store with no manager, so I really had to manage the whole team by myself.
Oh, wow.
And I think that has really set me up to now manage my own team at the studio.
Yes, and that was unintended, but you learned those skills nonetheless.
Exactly. And they were quite brutal and they would say, no, Maddie, this is how you need to manage the team. But at the time I was like, oh my goodness, why are you like being so harsh and telling me how I need to do this? But of course you need to learn. But I was 19, 20.
Yes, I was going to ask you, how old were you by then?
Yeah, I think I was like 19 or 20 managing a team of like 15 people.
Who were probably older than
They
you.
were all older than me. So it was quite awkward actually.
Yes.
And so my regional manager was like, this is what we're going to do. And I had another store manager come in and mentor me every Monday.
Yes.
She would tell me exactly like what she does to be able to manage her team.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that it was definitely a blessing in disguise.
Yes. How good is that? I mean, yeah, I've done that too. I was once a manager at 19 and managing older people and finding it very hard to communicate.
Exactly.
So I want to go into sort of, you'd said it wasn't quite what you'd expected in the end, right? Because you had to then find a full-time job, figuring out where you were going to go after that. Had it taken you long to figure out what you were going to do, what your next steps were, or did you seek guidance from other people and to understand what next to do?
I really didn't know what I was going to do at
Yeah.
all. So that's why I did decide to work full time.
Mm-hmm.
I was still teaching dance 1 or 2 nights a week at my studio that I grew up dancing at, just so I
Right.
could stay connected with dance.
Yes.
And then I was doing a few classes a week
okay.
to keep my body moving, keep dancing.
Yes.
But yeah, I didn't really know what I was doing at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then given that, I mean, you're here, right? You're now an entrepreneur. You're running and owning your own studio, which is a huge thing. And at some point, that would have been, sort of a bit of a leap for you. How did you get to that point? What made you start, kind of your own studio? I know you were always dancing, but how did you know you were going to do that? Because you'd said you didn't know what you wanted to do, but now all of a sudden you're an entrepreneur.
So it's actually a bit funny story. So I saw on Facebook that my cousin's dance school that she grew up dancing was closing down. And so I remember I texted Dad and I was like, this studio is closing down. Why don't I email and see if I can take over the space?
Amazing.
And I remember Dad and I sitting at the kitchen bench writing this email to this lady to see if we could somehow buy her studio fit out so that I could start my own studio. And I remember just thinking like, why not? Just give it a go. I'm 21 and
okay, by that point you were 21.
Yeah, I think I was just about to turn 21 when I emailed her, and we basically just said, can we take over your lease and buy your studio fit out? And
amazing.
I remember that was like the scariest moment of my life, sending off that email, because like obviously my whole life was about to change.
Yes. Did you know your life was going to change at 20 years old? Or I mean, I know it was scary for you, but did you know it was going to change that much?
I didn't really know what I was doing, to be honest.
I love that.
I was like, oh, well, let's just give it a go, see what happens.
I love that.
And Dad and I were talking, we were like, well, if it really fails, then I can always just get a full-time job again.
That's it.
Just give it a go while I'm young, may as well. And yeah,
here you are.
Here we are.
Do you think that so it sounded like it was just over a year where you had to work full time and kind of figure out, okay, well, I've got this now, I've graduated now. I have no idea where I'm going to go because obviously I'm not the preference for picking up big shows or, sort of gigs.
Exactly.
It gave you that kind of year and a bit to reflect on. Do you think that was a help for you, that you'd kind of just similar approach to high school? You kind of just went, okay, I'm going to not so much stress about the fact that I'm not propelling into the career that I want to go into. I'm going to figure out more, sort of you work, do other things, keep your headspace a little bit clear. Do you think that kind of helped, that bit of a gap managing?
I think it's like sitting back and working full time I think I was employed for 8 months as full time. So I think those 8 months really allowed me to work out what I did want to do, what I didn't want to do, look at the industry, look at the direction that it was going, see what all of my friends from full-time are doing and work out, okay, do I want to do what that person's doing or what direction am I going to take it? And I think that time allowed me to work out what I did want to do.
Amazing. And then this thing just fell in your lap, like just you hadn't even planned it. It was just all of a sudden
I just saw a Facebook post and I was like, oh, this could be an
crazy.
opportunity.
That's so good. And then you sought the help of your father, who I know is a very smart man. And so then you sent the email.
Yes.
What happened? Did she come back to you?
I think it took about a week because it was like her concert time. And it took about a week for her to reply. And she was like, yeah, sure. Come have a look if you want. We're busy at the moment, but I've got the studio free from this time till this time. So I think Dad came with me and we looked at the studio, and as soon as I walked in that door, I was like, yes, this is
really, you felt
be.
the moment as soon as you walked in the door.
Yeah.
What was that feeling like? Was it incredible? Was it elating? Like, well, how did you feel?
I think I felt at home. Like it was like, I felt like this is where I'm meant to be. Like I felt
amazing.
Quite nervous, of course, but I felt really like this was meant to happen.
Yep. About time. Yeah, you're probably like, I've graduated, I've waited this long, I'm finally here. It's crazy.
Finally ready.
Yeah, and you hadn't even, I don't even know if you imagined yourself actually wanting to own a studio at some point. I mean, you were
dancing
just looking at a career, right? You just wanted to dance.
I didn't want to own a studio when I was dancing full time, and I was like, who would ever want to do that? That's so much work. Why would anyone want to do that, dealing with children all day, every day? But now it's like my favorite thing ever, and
really
just so happy.
That's so good. And so then when you walked into the studio, that feeling of, wow, I actually feel at home.
Yeah.
What did you guys do? Did you go home and go, I want this? Or did you go home and think, oh gosh, do I actually want it, even though it felt like home? all the things that are going to come with it?
I felt like, yes, I did want to do it straight away. Yeah, I remember walking out and Dad and I talking and being like, yes,
do it.
This is what we want to do.
And what were some of the things you had to think about? I mean, I imagine there was financial considerations. There was looking at viability of the business and liability of the business. What were some of the things that you guys did from a technical perspective? Did you have to do all that, or did you leave it to someone else?
Well, I was saving up to buy a house, so I had my house deposit ready to go. So I decided, nearly.
How old were you
20.
by this time, saving for a house, nearing a house deposit?
Yeah,
crazy.
So I used that what I had saved to start the business and get myself going. So I knew that I had myself backed in that way, but still working for like part time.
Yeah. Did you give up your job, or you sort of had to,
Yeah, I quit the job that I was working at, but I picked up a different retail job because I felt like I just needed to end that chapter and move on.
Amazing.
And start something different.
Wow. And so then who took care of tell me if you don't know what this word means, all of the logistics from a business perspective? Who took care of all of that for you? Was that something you were involved in?
Yeah, I was. So Dad helped me with the lease transfer.
Yeah.
And then Mum helped me with like the creative side of things, and then my boyfriend helped me design my logo. So it was sort of a team effort to get it all done so quickly.
Yeah.
But I learnt most of it by Googling and working out, okay, what needs to happen? How do I actually start a business? And Dad has his own business, so just asking him, how does this work? What do I need to do? And yeah.
So good. Did you have sleepless nights like I would have? I would have had sleepless nights just on Google, just constantly researching, going, okay, what's the next thing I need to think about?
Yeah.
And each time you've spoken to your parents, you probably had new ideas. And maybe your partner as well.
Yeah. Just going, what about this? What about this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you a perfectionist? Did you want to sort of go in there with everything perfect, or were you okay with just going in with what we call generally minimum viable product?
I think it was quite a quick turnaround. So done is better than perfect at that stage. So of course as perfect as possible, and of course I was still learning, but just needed to get it done and get it sorted. And then once we settled in, that's when I sort of became more of a perfectionist then.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah. And what about the studio itself? Did you have to sort of make any changes to it? Did you have to retrofit it out to suit your needs? And so was it named something else?
Yeah, it was named something else. Right. And the lady who did own it, she said that we could not keep her name. So I did need to start it as my own business, but I could take over her lease. So it was all purple on the inside. It was really dirty, dusty. It didn't look very well loved. So it needed a lot of work. We spent like a week and a half painting it because it was dark purple.
Yep. Not your vibe.
No, nice bright white now.
It's bright white, yes.
Yes.
Did you know what vibe you were going to have though? I mean,
I knew that I wanted it to be white and clean and just open up the space because it is.
Yes.
It's not the biggest factory, but having it so dark made it feel super small, and just opening it up with the white paint made a big difference. So we spent like a week and a half doing 5 coats of white paint to get it actually white, because you could still see the purple underneath.
Were you having to get underneath those paint brushes and rollers?
Yeah, it was a team effort. It was me, Mum, my cousin, my auntie, my boyfriend, his mum. Dad was in there painting, like my sister, her friends, everyone. I think every day I had different people coming in to help me, which was amazing.
Most amazing feeling that you had people behind you to just rally in and do the things with you. That's so cool. And that kind of makes it feel more and more like home, like yours, doesn't it?
Exactly. Having to work to put it all together.
Yes, all the excitement and the build-up of it. How did you come up with the name?
I actually Googled dance words. And I was like, I wonder what works. And then I just went through like a list of all different names, and I kept coming back to Revolve, like sort of thing. And I didn't know I wanted it to be Revolve Studios. And then I was like, not specific enough. And then we're like, Revolve Dance. No, still not specific enough.
Yes.
Revolve Dance Studios. And then so we eventually got there.
Amazing.
We went through a whole different list of names, designing all different logos. And my boyfriend and I were actually like out for a wedding. And I was like getting ready for the wedding, like making logos, and I remember I registered my business name while I was doing my hair, and like
Nuts.
it was crazy.
While you're about to attend a wedding,
Yep.
even the most creative, the most unlikely times where you can be the most creative could be attending a wedding.
Exactly. We were getting
so
ready in
funny.
the little hotel room in, I think, like the border of New South Wales and Victoria.
Yes.
And I was just like, yes, I must work right now.
I love that. I love that. And I didn't actually ask, did you have a dance specialty when you started dancing? Like, were you a jazz? Were you contemporary? Were you,
I was
sort of
doing a bit of
ballet?
everything.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like ballet, jazz and tap were always the classics while I was growing up, and then adding in contemporary, pom, lyrical, all of
Yes.
the different things. Yeah, so a bit of everything while I was growing up.
So you know how to tap dance.
I can.
That is crazy. I tried tap dancing and
It's so hard.
I'm so uncoordinated. Was that the easiest thing for you to learn when you were younger?
Tap was always my most challenging.
Yes.
Yeah.
And why is that?
I think
I'm
just
geeking out
coordinating
here.
your toes and feet, heels at the same time, and then making your upper body look so graceful
Yes, yes.
at the same time.
all
It's
the
so
all
hard.
the all the weird, like all the coordinations happening down at the bottom while you're trying to stay composed.
It's like a duck on water, like the feet going crazy.
Yes, and just to bust a myth from me, anyway, and I'm sorry I'm geeking out on this, 'cause I always try and want to be a tap dancer. Is it heel toe or toe heel first? Which one is it?
Depends what sort of move you want to do.
Oh,
It
right, so it
always
could be either.
changes.
It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You can
Sorry,
do whichever.
That was a bit of a nerdy question for those who
No, I
really
love
want
it.
to understand. Okay, so you tap dance. You'd said, you tried everything,
Yeah.
right? Contemporary, all that sort of stuff.
Give it all a go.
So if you were to pick a genre, or is it, correct me on any of the terms that I'm using, but if you were to pick up one dance genre, what would be your favorite?
I always go for jazz.
Jazz?
Yeah, my favorite.
And is jazz hands a thing?
It depends what style of jazz that you want to do. Definitely,
Okay.
if you're doing like Bob Fosse style, then you could definitely
Yes.
get the jazz hands going.
I
But
love that.
yeah, I just love jazz technique. There's always something that you can challenge yourself with, and
Yes.
different jumps and turns and everything.
Yeah. Does it kind of combine a little bit of other dance techniques into jazz? Is jazz like one of those, sort of styles that combines many other dance moves into one?
Yeah, so I'd say that ballet is the foundation of all dance.
Ah,
So once you've got beautiful ballet technique, then you can pretty much do anything.
really?
Yeah.
And why is that?
I'm not entirely sure, but a lot of like a lot of the
Flexibility.
foundations of jazz come from ballet. So,
It's very interesting. And even contemporary as well.
yeah, I would say so.
That's so interesting. For those who are super unfamiliar, such as myself, or who aren't familiar with the dance world, what's something that people most often misunderstand about the dance industry? If you think about sort of your build up to, from going from high school and what you learned there, and then of course going into TAFE and what you're learning there, and now being an owner of a dance studio, what might be, thinking about all those things, what might be some of the misconceptions that people have about the dance industry? Like that you have to be perfect, or that you have to be this, or you have to have this background, or...
I would say that not all studios are as bad as they seem.
Okay.
So
Tell
growing
me a
up-
bit about that.
So growing up, I did go to a ballet school that was very strict, very old school, very you must be perfect. But I think that within my studio, I want everyone to feel welcome. I want everyone to feel safe and just have fun with what they're doing. So just know that dance doesn't have to be that old school style of training where it's super duper intense and scary.
And does your dance studio, do you guys do, like, you have competitions that you go into as well? I know you have programs and all that sort of stuff, but do you also enter into, national or, statewide comps?
Yeah, so last year we actually started our first competition team.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We took one team to a few different competitions throughout the year and they did really, really well. So we've
well
decided
done.
to continue on with that this year, and we have two troops. We have our pearls and our diamonds, and they're
I love that.
I love the names. It's so cute.
Yeah.
So the pearls are our little kids, and then diamonds are our senior team.
Oh,
They're really beautiful. And we're going to 3 competitions, and we're also dancing at Dance Aid, which raises money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
I love that. So pearls and diamonds.
Yeah.
I love the term diamonds because it's not hardwood classics. They're not given names like hardwood classics. So pearls and diamonds. Who assisted you with coming up with those names of the troops?
So Katie, my sister, and Maddie, one of my teachers who does all of the troop routines.
Yes.
We were all texting back and forth over summer, trying to decide what theme we wanted our troop names to be. So in the future, we can continue that as we add on more teams. So we decided that we all wanted it to be like stones and gems.
Yes.
Hence why we got pearls, because we thought that pearls were little and cute.
That's super clever because you're never going to run out of stones and gems names, are you?
Exactly. And we wanted them to be black and white.
Okay.
Or silver as our colours.
I see. Colours are so important, aren't they? So what was behind was it more the choice of going with white in your studio? Was it more just to give it that fresh vibe, kind of airy feeling?
Yeah.
Was that the
I
premise
wanted it to
behind
feel clean and open, so that's why we did the white walls. And then the logo just ended up being black and white. I couldn't decide on a colour back when we were designing the logo.
Yes.
So I didn't know. I didn't want to go, we're going to be, I don't know, orange or something.
Yes.
And then now not like it. So that's why we went with black and white. It looks nice and clean.
No, I mean, I did.
Well.
I was just about to say I did a bit of graphic design with my partner. We did a bit of graphic design years back. And when we did logos, I thought, well, black and white's actually easiest for when you're doing, so when you're changing your logos, you don't have to do a great deal to change your colors up or anything. It shows up really easily.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. And so if I think about Revolve Dance Studios, what makes it different from others? I know you said that it doesn't have to be super traditional. They're not all the same.
Exactly.
Oils ain't oils. I guess it's the saying that they tend to have in the car industry. But from a dance perspective, what makes Revolve Dance Studios stand out above the others?
I would say that we're quite a young team. So all of the girls are around my age, and we really create those friendships with our students and make sure that they do feel comfortable when they come in the studio. They know that they can always come talk to us if they ever have anything that they want to talk about, or they just feel super happy and energized to be at the studio.
Yeah. I
don't believe that there's any reason to have that traditional method of training.
Right.
Being so strict, and they're honestly just children. Like, they're there to have fun and learn the skills still, but it doesn't need to be that strict style of training.
Yeah. And was that something you experienced as a young child, or were you drawing from your experience where you actually had fun and that's what you want to carry through?
I went to 2 different studios. One was fun and recreational.
Yes.
And then the other one was very, very strict. So I would like to bring the two together and have fun training but still get the results.
Yeah, I love that. And it's actually about a relationship too, isn't it? So it's actually having a relationship with your what are they? Not your, but they're your troops, but your dancers as well.
Yeah,
it's not just I'm going to teach you techniques, and then not really get to know who you are at the same time. Would that be right? Would I be correct in saying that?
I absolutely agree. And lots of our students, their parents always say, like, my daughter feels at home whenever she comes to the studio. She feels part of the family, and that's what I really want to create.
How much of that is emotional or mental? And then what through dance did you or have you learned about yourself?
I would say the discipline has come from dance.
Yep.
So knowing that I do have to be at whatever place it is at what time. So we would have class. I have to be there half an hour before and make sure that I'm warm. And emotionally, like, being disciplined, being able to push yourself because your teacher's not always going to be there to push you. And when you're in the room, you can be switched off and just go through the movements, or you can be really switched on and push yourself and always extend. Yeah,
I see. And then in terms of kind of what you learned yourself through dance, what has it taught you personally? I know you talked about discipline. I know you talked about routine and structure. Is there anything else that it taught you personally?
I think that it taught me that in life, not everyone's going to be there to guide you. Like the same thing in the studio.
Tell me about that.
So like in the studio when I'm teaching, I could tell the kids every single correction, or I could get them to partner up and get them to work on corrections themselves or work by themselves to, whoops, days, I just hit that.
That's fine.
So I could get them to work by themselves and work out their own corrections like you would have to do in life, and work out how am I going to push myself to be my best self and best dancer.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's what you learned through dance, which I think is what's the term I'm looking for? It's all kind of transitional, isn't it? Those skills and the emotions and the tough times that you go through are all transitional into different things that you do in life, isn't it? And that's essentially what you want to try and teach the young dancers in your studio?
Yes.
Right. Are there any dance sort of trends that you're loving right now that you think others should know about?
Oh.
Do you think about is there ever a time, because if I think about like myself I'm in the boring world of data and all those other things. If I think about my world in the workforce, we're always looking at emerging trends and things that are kind of coming up, threats that might be, or even just things you might need to think about in the future that are changing the industry. Is that something that you tend to think about as well? Like, are you always having to sort of think about, do we need to reinvent ourselves? Do we need to change up the things that we do? Or do you think that, I suppose the mantra of, just be the studio that cares about their dancers, be the studio that teaches obviously technique and discipline and all that sort of stuff. Is that really where you keep going, or do you have to think about what's coming up in the future?
I think that the dance industry is definitely moving away from the traditional style of teaching. So where we are with being that fun studio that still gets the results is definitely the way that the industry is going. And I think we're a little bit ahead of the game, like coming into the industry already being that sort of studio. I would say that, those traditional studios are on their way out, and parents aren't wanting that for their children at the moment.
Yeah, that's so interesting. That's so interesting. Because it's tough to break into an industry that's been there for so long, right?
Exactly. There's so many studios around, so you just have to find, like, what's your point of difference? Why is a parent going to choose your studio over the one 200 meters down the road?
Yes. And from a marketing perspective, are you having to be the marketing person? Do you have a team for that, or who does all of that for you?
I do all of it myself.
Wow.
And I think that like our social media presence has gotten us a long way, and always posting like every second day and having content that looks really clean and gets to the point straight away is what our audience likes. They like to be able to see what are the kids working on, what skills are they achieving, but also having beautiful content at the same time.
Yes, I love that. And so are you having to do all of the filming, and you're having to think about what content to put up? Because I know people tend to get content managers and all that sort of, because they just don't have time for that.
It is a lot, but I run between all of the different classes if I'm not teaching. So our studios, I've got 2 factories. They're about 4 doors apart. I'm constantly running between the 2. I just take photos and videos wherever I am, take like lots and lots of content, and then at night when I'll get home, then I'll work out what content am I going to make from whatever photos or videos I've taken.
I wish I had a better term for you, but hustler comes to mind. I wish I kind of feel like you need to be you've got this hybrid hustler, sort of smart wits about you in terms of actually figuring out what are the things you need to do in between. And you don't waste time. Is that a factor for you? I'm finding that you're not a time waster.
I don't have time to waste, so just have to get it done.
Yeah. And is that something that's always front of mind for you, like the time that you've got in the day to get everything done?
If you saw my calendar on my iPad, you would be shocked.
Really? I'm not surprised.
Everything is time blocked. Like I still work a part-time job, so my shifts are in there, and then I've got time blocked for going to the gym and then driving and then getting to whatever job it is that I'm at, and then I'm at the studio for this time, and then everything's in the calendar. That's
so inspiring. Of all the things that you're currently juggling, what would you say is the most difficult for you? Dance must be the one that comes naturally, but what's the most difficult thing for you being a new business owner and a
wait. I would say like the admin side of things.
Oh, yes. Of course.
I don't want to do it, but it has to be done, of course.
Yes, yes. And what are we talking about here? What are the sorts of things that we're talking about from an admin perspective?
Anything that I have to sit down on my computer.
Being in front of your computer.
Exactly. I'd rather be in the studio watching the kids and seeing how they progress, but we're not going anywhere if I don't do my admin.
I know. And how important is that to your business though?
Very. But I think my presence in the studio is equally as important, because having the kids know that I'm always around and everything is really important. And that also means that the dance parents can hassle me rather than hassling the teachers and disrupting the class or anything.
Yes.
So.
I always liken it to, oh my gosh, I'm left-handed, but now I've got to do all these things in right hand. So it's kind of like that admin part is your right hand or your odd hand, and the other thing is everything you do naturally.
Exactly.
Maybe at some point, at some point down the track, you might look to see if there's anyone else that can do it for you, or
I think that'll have to be my next hire.
Because if I think about your calendar and I know how busy you said you are, surely that's going to be on the calendar. Exactly. Maddie's going to find someone to do the admin.
Yeah, I think that'll be good.
I love that. And is there a win or a moment of impact that really stands out for you in terms of kind of your journey to this day? I know you said you felt the way you felt when you walked into the studio, felt like home, and now today it just feels like something you want to do forever. Mm-hmm. Putting all that aside, is there a moment that you really think of, that you can really think of that was the most impactful or a moment of win, whether it's to do with you or your studio or your students?
Recently, actually, I just hit my goal number of students that I had set for the entire year.
That is amazing. So when we say a year, are we talking about the June financial year? Are we talking about the calendar year, January to December?
Yeah, calendar year.
And what month are we in?
April.
We're only in April and you hit your target already. You're 4 months into the year and you're already there.
Yeah.
That is incredible. How did you do it? Please share.
It's a lot of word of mouth getting the students. Mm-hmm. So doing Bring a Friend weeks at the studio, and lots of people comment on different Facebook groups going, I recommend, and asking for Google reviews. So at the start of the year, I did a promotion, like get $10 off your term fees if you give me a Google review.
Love it.
Because people knowing that there is social proof is so important. And like if you're going to invest into going to a business for a service, you're going to look at the Google reviews.
Yes.
So
So a little bit of incentive and a little bit of love at the same time.
Exactly. And the families love a discount. So
totally.
Why not give them $10 off if they're going to help me get more clients?
Yeah, totally. And it's not like it's not like they would be writing anything that they wouldn't have experienced already. You're just essentially kind of guiding them to where to put their love, right?
Exactly.
And also incentivizing them in a way that also helps.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I love that. So in terms of your journey then, Maddie, what is next for you in terms of your studio? You've reached your goal.
Yes.
What's next? What are you planning next?
In the next 3 years, I would like to move us into a different factory to have both studios under one roof, hopefully have 3 studios.
Right.
I'm also currently studying personal training as well.
Really?
So I would like to implement that into the studio and be able to run like boot camps and gym programs for the parents as well, so the studio can operate throughout the day.
That's amazing.
I have other like big term goals, but I would just want to focus on those.
Can I just ask you about your goals? Are you doing that on a yearly basis, or is it just something that naturally occurs in your mind? You know, these plans that you've got, Maddie, my God, how long have you owned the studio for now?
This is 3rd year.
Okay, so you're in year 3 and you're already thinking about bigger and better things, which generally people don't typically think about until, say, after year 5 or 6. What helps you set your goals up? Is this something that you're naturally inclined to do, or do you seek out help?
I always want to make it bigger and better. So
the bigger and better bit, that's the bit. That's
exactly.
the part, isn't it?
And on my laptop, I have like, you know how you can get those little sticky note things on your screen?
Yeah.
I have one of them, and it has like Revolve 3-year vision, and I have it broken down into each year. So my 2025 one was 100 students, fill up classes, and like run a mid-year and end-of-year showcase. they were my 3 goals. Like the 100 students, I thought was a massive stretch, but we've already done it. So
yes,
wild. And then so fill up my classes. That's going to be another challenge. And then mid-year and end of year showcase is achievable. We've done that before. So
that's
those
so
are my main
amazing.
goals.
Super focused. And I imagine that those goals come naturally to you because you're so in love with what you're doing today. Would that be
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, and I want every child to be able to come to dance and love exactly what they're doing. So having that home for them is what I want to be able to give.
Achieve.
Yeah.
Studio 1, 2, 3 under the same factory. What are you going to name those? Revolve 1, Revolve 2? Are they
Yeah.
all kind of the same name, or are you thinking also about that?
We just call them Studio 1 and Studio 2 at the moment.
I
Just
was on
nice
the right
and
track.
simple.
I was on the right track.
You were.
So at the moment, you are just a workhorse, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
What do you like to do to enjoy yourself? Like, well, how do you unwind, Maddie? Personal training, is that how you unwind? All the endorphins, or?
Yeah, I go to the gym like 4 days a week. And then
Damn. Okay.
just because I don't think about anything else. I put my headphones in, blast the music, and I leave my laptop in the car because I can't work while I'm at the gym.
Exercising.
Exactly. And then I work part-time, so I work with all of my friends still. And
Really?
Yeah.
So a part-time job, like a regular person?
Yeah, in retail.
What? This is great. How do you breathe? You have an oxygen mask behind the scenes.
I wish.
Okay. All right. So you go personal training 4 days a week.
Yeah.
That's incredible because normally you only need to go 3, but you go 4. Okay. Why not? You're that extra mile person. You're also working part-time. You're running a business.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing the marketing while you're attending weddings.
And working at schools, teaching dance as well.
What? Are you redefining 24-hour day? You're just not sleeping? Like how many hours of sleep? You mustn't sleep, surely.
Like 7 hours. It's okay.
Really? 7 hours? No, now you're cheating. Okay. Okay, so you're also now teaching at the same time. I was going to ask, and you found love along the way. We won't obviously necessarily need to go down there, but you've had a long-term relationship as well while holding down all these things you're doing?
Yes. Been together for 4 years.
4 years?
Yeah. He supports me a lot in what I do, and he's always at the studio.
Yes.
If I need to move big, heavy things that I can't move myself, and at the concert, and his friends come and help at the concert as well, moving all the acro equipment with Dad and making the show happen behind the scenes because
Yes.
if I'm stage managing, I can't be moving the acro equipment and putting everything on stage. And
Maddie, how important is it to have a relationship, to have a significant other in your life? Because a lot of people tend to do this, kind of on their own. You're sharing some of the really important things that a significant other, sort of does with you. What would you say to those who are looking for love and wanting to go on the journey with them or with you or?
Well, he supports me a lot, and he'll have dinner on the table when I get back to his house if I'm staying at his house on.
I'm bracing myself.
And so I think that having someone in your corner.
Yes.
Of course, my family is always there to support, but
somebody you love and trust.
Exactly, he's always there supporting as well.
Yeah, so you clearly were around the right people, as you say. In high school, you were focused on those relationships and fostering, kind of who you were. Given that you knew you were already good at something, that's great advice. We're near the tail end. What advice would you give somebody in their early 20s if they're feeling stuck? Or they're not where they're supposed to be? What advice would you give to those people?
I would say just do what you love and everything will work out eventually.
Yeah.
Just try new things and see what works. If it doesn't work, then sure, just move on and everything will work.
Yeah, I love that. And if Revolve Dance Studios could be, I guess if there was a message that you wanted to send to the next generation of Revolve Dance Studios students that are coming into your studio, what would that message be? Would it be, as you say, that you're a studio that focuses on who you are, not what you can do?
Yeah, I would say coming to the studio with just be open and have fun and enjoy the process.
Yes, because that's what you're there for, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that. So this has been seriously an unbelievably insightful interview with you and conversation. I do have one last question for you, and you can take your time because even the smartest people who have gone to the best universities in the world have thought about this one. If coconut were a success, what would be the 3 layers of that coconut that would make it a success and make that coconut a whole?
Okay. I would say, wait, we need 3 layers.
We need 3. So we've got the hard shell on the outer of the coconut.
That'd be discipline.
Discipline. I love that. And then we've got the inner part, which is the nice bit that you can also eat.
Yeah.
And then the 3rd layer is the juice, the really juicy stuff, that delicious juice in the center of the coconut. So what would be the 2 layers going in?
I would say like the coconut water would be like your relationships.
Okay.
I think.
And why is that?
Because you can't do anything if you don't have your people surrounding you.
I
Oh
see.
no, that should be the soft layer, I think.
Okay.
Yep. Oh, I don't know. You stumped me on this one.
There's no water.
Sure.
Okay, so you've got discipline
Yep.
as one of them. You've got relationships that's super important. You can't do it on your own. It takes
Exactly.
a team.
And then I would say like looking after yourself. And
Okay.
like taking time to look after yourself would be at the center. Because you
Yes.
can't do anything if your bucket's empty.
Oh, I love that. And when you say look after yourself, what's an example of what that might be?
I don't do much of it. Look after yourself. At the moment, I'm all about like fueling my body
Yes.
nicely and properly, making sure that I'm eating 3 solid meals a day and
Yep.
making them whole foods rather than going, oh, what's for lunch?
Yep.
Like be prepared and ready.
Well, Maddie, those are words to live by. I personally am going to take those words and drink your coconut juice all day long, and I'll buy that too. And if I was dancing, I'd also decide up to dance in your studio. Do you date Latin by chance? Do you do Latin genres?
Not yet,
Not
hopefully.
yet. Maybe something to think about. You might have some diamond dancing Latins in the room here. But I want to just say thank you so very much. That was so insightful. You are such a remarkable young lady. I wish you all the very best. For those Thirstee Coconuts who haven't signed up to Revolve Dance Studios, please do so. You've seen how exceptional this young lady is. And I want to thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so much fun.
My pleasure.